Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another Damn Sports podcast once again. As always, I am Drew Torres, here with my crappy quarantine beard. He is Money Mike Gilchrist, and today we are going to switch it up a little bit by welcoming a guest from start to finish to talk everything about the NFL draft of 2020. He is the Irishman, the degenerate gambler, the king of college football analytics. He is Patrick Vincent McMahon. Pat, how's it going, man? And how are you holding up during these unprecedented times, to use the word that was completely overused during the NFL draft?
I'm going good, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. As you alluded to, being the gambling guy, it's been tough with with March Madness getting canceled. That's my favorite event every year. That was unfortunate, and then no NBA playoffs or anything to go right now. So entertainment wise, it's been a struggle, but other than that, doing well. Just count down the days till everything goes back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only thing we've had for sports entertainment is old games being played on ESPN or Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1. And The Last Dance. The Last Dance documentary, I don't know if either of you guys checked that out, but that was actually, the first two episodes are really good, and the next two air tonight on ESPN.
Have you been able to check that out, Pat?
Yeah, I did watch the first two. They were very good. Looking forward to tonight. I think they're going to show a lot more Dennis Rodman tonight, so that's always exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I heard the feature is going to be about today as well.
Yeah, that's always ideal. But we'll definitely cover that series as the series goes along. But for now, we are here to talk the NFL draft. As everybody knows, the exciting NFL draft just ended yesterday, and all of the teams have drafted all of their hopeful players who hope to make the team and hopefully making a contribution in this upcoming NFL season that we hope is going to actually happen. Pat, why don't we start with the two most exciting teams, the New York Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars? Everybody was really watching, really keying in on who these teams are going to draft. We'll start with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll start with basically their three most important picks. Their first pick, which was kind of a surprise to a lot of people, including the analysts on the NFL draft, it was C.J. Henderson from Florida, a cornerback. What do you think of that pick, and did you think that it was maybe a little bit of a reach, or do you think it was the right call?
Yeah, I can't really hate on that pick. I think the more I was reading, in the days leading up to the draft, I was reading that a lot of people were, because I know the Jags were trying to shop that ninth pick, and it seemed to be that the teams that wanted to trade up were going after Henderson. His stock, for whatever reason, seemed to be rising late. So it's a guy that a lot of people wanted, and obviously with no more Jalen Ramsey or AJ Bouye on the team, it was a big need for Jacksonville. So I think, it's kind of a home run pick there with Henderson at 9. And then K'Lavon Chaisson, I think, at 20 was a nice pick as well. Obviously, their defensive line depth took a hit with Calais Campbell leaving, and then who knows what's going to happen with Yannick Ngakoue, but it's tough to see him suiting up in a Jags uniform. So
he's definitely gone. That's for sure. If anybody saw his Twitter exchange with Tony Khan, the son of Shad Khan, it did not look good, and Tony Khan definitely got the better of him in that exchange.
They just can't seem to hold their best players. Their good talent, top-end talent seems to keep leaving out of free agency or for whatever reason. So then they do a good job reloading. It's just a shame that they can't keep the good talent they have on the team on defense.
Well, unfortunately, I think a big catalyst of that was Tom Coughlin. Unfortunately, the players did not appreciate the hard style that Tom Coughlin brings to the locker room, the very dictatorship style. So we'll see what the new players and the new regime decides to do. And as Mike shows his Tom Coughlin book, hey,
that's right.
He did his best.
Written by Tom Coughlin, the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah. And the last most important pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars was Laviska Shenault from Colorado. And I know you were saying that you had high praises for this guy, right?
Oh yeah, I love Shenault. I think that's a great pick in the second round. I actually had tweeted on Thursday before the first round. I think in a very good receiver class, I think he has the potential to be the best one. He's just so fast and strong, like just a great combination, of those two things, and just so athletic too. Like he's probably the best after the catch receiver in the draft. Like if he gets the ball. He still has to polish his route running, and stuff like that. But if you get the ball in his hands, he's so hard to bring down, just because of that combination of size and speed. And he was a little under the radar because he didn't have great quarterback or offense around him at Colorado. And also this year, his junior year, he dealt with a lot of injuries. But when I first started watching this guy when he was a sophomore, I think I watched him against Nebraska, just light it up. I've been following him ever since. He's an absolute stud. So I think the Jags got a steal with Shenault in the second round.
So do you think that if you were a front office guy, you would take Shenault over guys like CeeDee Lamb or Ruggs? Or do you think that the teams that took those guys made the right call?
So I think those guys are going to be good as well. But I just think in the immediate future, like, you're probably better off with a CeeDee Lamb or a Jerry Jeudy. They're way more polished, like, as a route runner, just getting themselves open, stuff like that. But I think in the long term, Shenault has, if he, as long as the Jaguars don't mess him up, if he, which you never know with their wide receiver history, but if he can develop properly, I think he's got 5 years from now, I think he'll be the best player.
All right, well, that's great news for Jags fans, including myself, and we will move on to the New York Football Giants with Money Mike Gilchrist.
Yeah. Well, so the New York Giants, they were going to get criticized and double-checked no matter what they did in the draft because nobody trusts or likes David Gettleman. Sorry, no one does. And their head coach is a first-year guy who nobody thought was qualified to be a head coach in the NFL. So no matter what they did, their pick was going to be second-guessed. And the first pick they did, they took Andrew Thomas from Georgia, an offensive tackle. I thought going into the draft that they would go either offensive line or defensive line. Now, a lot of Giants fans were hoping they would go after Isaiah Simmons from Clemson because he's such a versatile defensive end. We really didn't have a strong pass rush last year. Most of our defensive line is filled with, like, run stoppers. But I figured they'd probably go offensive line given the last two drafts they've picked with their first pick a quarterback and a running back, so they really want to protect those assets. But when Andrew Thomas was drafted and he was ranked fourth on Mel Kiper's list, I kind of was like, really? So, but Pat, I guess you felt pretty positive about Andrew Thomas. Tell me why.
Yeah, I just think he's a really safe pick. He doesn't have the physical traits and the upside necessarily that guys like Tristan Wirfs and Mekhi Becton did, but he was just consistently productive at Georgia, and playing against tough SEC defensive linemen his whole career. I believe I read he only gave up like 3 sacks in the past 3 seasons or something like that. So he's just a model of consistency, and I think he's a guy that will start for them right away day one and be a really good player.
Yeah, I think what Joe I saw an interview with Joe Judge with some of the New York Giants radio analysts, and he said what they really liked about Thomas was his behind the scenes stuff, this, like, how hard he works, how his coaches talked about how he's so focused, and they really liked his background compared to a Mekhi Becton who failed the drug test at one point in college. So, I mean, that kind of stuff is really important to the New York Giants. It has been for years. But when I'm watching the draft and they show that Andrew Thomas's skill is playing the drums and they show Mekhi Becton pushing a Ford F-150, I'm like, who got the better guy? But we'll see. I was very happy with the Giants' second pick when they took Xavier McKinney at safety from Alabama. That I thought was a great pick because he was the best safety in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of guys thought he was a first rounder. I think Kuiper had him like top 15 on his big board, so a ton of value getting him in the second round, and also hitting a position in need. I agree, great pick as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants really, their focus on this draft, Dave Gettleman said before him, we're going to sew up this offensive line once and for all. And out of their 10 picks, 3 were offensive line, and then they really also stocked up on linebacker because that was another position they were really weak in last year. Again, with the 30th ranked defense, they had a lot of holes to fill. And if you look at the Giants after the draft, at their defensive roster, 78% of their roster is from the 2018 year or newer. So they have 37 men on the roster, 29 have experience from 2018 or have no experience at all. So they're a young team. They've got a lot to develop and a lot to learn. So I don't see anything happening for the Giants this year as far as being a contender team, but hopefully in a couple of years, these young guys develop and they can have a really bright future. That's the only thing I can hope for as a Giants fan right now.